Oh, hey grade 6. Welcome back to another Hatchet summary videos. Today we're going to talk about chapter 10 and chapter 11. Some pretty big chapters in the Hatchet when it has to do with Brian's character development. Right? Chapter 10, not so much, but definitely chapter 11. Right? I'm actually going to have to use the old book to talk about some of the quotes because I just don't have them quite memorized. But chapter 10, what we do is we start with Brian at the end of chapter 9. He solves the problem with the fire. Right? He finally figures out how to get his fire, and he falls asleep. And as he wakes up, he becomes obsessed with the task of making sure the fire can't die. Right? It kind of consumes him. He's constantly making sure that he has enough wood to keep the fire going. So I just got to adjust this angle. Okay? And he's starting to notice some things that are kind of beneficial to that. So obviously it's keeping away pests, but it's also keeping away mosquitoes. I guess another form of pests, right? So all the smoke in the air, he's realizing that it's keeping away the mosquitoes. So not only gives him some security, some protection, it can cook his food, but it's also giving him keeping away the mosquitoes, and he's starting to realize it can actually be used as a signal. Right? He's like, for the first time, he has a way of communicating with the outside world. Hey, I'm here, can you come save me? So the fire symbolizes a lot to him, right? Protection, and security, a way to cook the food, keep away the mosquitoes, which were a big problem early on. Do you remember when he first crashed and he passed out, he had mosquito bites all over his face, and now they're gone, right? And he has a way of communicating with the outside world. So what happens though is he does take a nap and the fire does die out for a bit. He has to kind of rekindle it. Later on in the chapter, we get another sort of form of conflict, another one with an animal. This time it's not a porcupine, but it's a turtle, right? And so the turtle came up onto the sand, it kind of spooked him, it scared him, came up to the sand, and he kind of investigated and he found eggs, right? He found the turtle eggs, and he got them for the first time, and he celebrated. He had 17 eggs, and the first night he ate a bunch of them, almost as much as he could, but he said, I need to control this. So even though his stomach demanded more, because remember, he's still really hungry up to this point. He doesn't have a reliable food source. Even though his stomach demanded more, right? He said, I gotta save these for the future. Okay? And so that's kind of what he did, is he rationed them off, and he said, I can't eat these all right now. I gotta save them. Right? So chapter 10 is all about the fire, the benefits of the fire, and a new source of food. Chapter 11 is we kind of start getting into a little bit about his transformation as a character. Because right now you already investigated into the early character analysis about who he is, right? And so what we have here is we talk about kind of his mentality, and we also talk about the things that are changing, right? He talks about how he's never been fat before. You would never consider him fat, but right now with not having consistent diet, he's shed all of his fat, so the outside is completely gone. His stomach is caved in the hunger, and the sun had cooked him past burning, so he's tanning. And the smoke from the fire, his face was starting to look like leather, right? So he's really tan. His face. If you ever watched the movie Outcast, right? By the end of the movie, with not Outcast, Castaway, Tom Hanks' character. By the end of the movie, right? Brian's going through that same transformation. He's being exposed to the elements. But perhaps more than his body, was the change in his mind, or in the way he was becoming. He's not the same, he thought. I see, I hear differently. I did not know when the change started, but it was there. When the sound came to him, came to him now, he didn't just hear it, but he would know the sound. He would swing and look at it, a breaking twig, a movement of air, and know the sound, as if he somehow could move his mind back down the wave of sound to the source. Right? So what he's starting to do is he's starting to realize that when he hears something, right, it's more than just hearing what it is or its direction, but he knows what it is. Right? He's starting to recognize this. It used to be very foreign, right? This woods. He was really out of his element. He's a city boy, right? And now he's out in the middle of the forest, and he's starting to become more comfortable and more aware of his surroundings. This is something you're going to see a lot more in chapter 12, 13, 14, and 15. Right? This change is going to continue. It's more than just the sounds to him, right? But it also talks about when he saw something, a bird movement, a wing inside a bush, or a ripple in the water, he would truly see that thing, not just notice it as he used to notice the things in the city. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I'm looking at something, I'm thinking about other things, right? Even if you're in a very beautiful place, you might be thinking about other things. And Brian kind of talks to that. He's no longer just like seeing it, right? but he's actually looking at it. And is he noticing it? He's seeing the whole wing, the feathers, the color, the bush, the size, the shape, the color of its leaves, more than he's ever had before. When he looks at a tree, it's not just that's a tree, but he's noticing all the details. His sight, his ears, all these things are being impacted. And you're starting to notice a big change in who Brian is. Okay? So, and he kind of continues to talk about it. The sight, his eyes, and his brain is changing, and also his physical appearance. Right? And that's really most of what chapter 10 and 11 are. By the end of chapter 11, what happens is he starts to notice the fish. Right? He starts to notice the river, which has always just been a water supply to him, starting to become known as a food supply. And what he starts to think about is, how can I actually start making this? Or how can I start benefiting from all the fish in here? And so he comes up with the idea of a spear. Now what we're going to investigate in chapter 12, 13, and 14, and 15, right, is how does this start working out? His mind's changing. He's thinking about now how to be resourceful. I can capture or I can kill fish. Is he going to be successful? And that's what we're going to find out. Stay tuned for more summaries. Have a good day. Happy reading.